Wow, guess who's already back for another round of analyzing the adventures of Amphibia? That's right, it's TNBT, ready to continue the legend. Part A was a bit of a warm-up if anything else, but Part B is exactly the hype we've been waiting for before all of war breaks loose. And so without further ado, please prepare yourself as we once again roll that intro. So, as mentioned just earlier, Part A was more of a less serious episode as it focuses more on the relationship between Bessie and Microangelo. Microangelo being the same exact pet that Polly bought back in Newtopia, with Hoppediah placing Bessie under the responsibility of taking care of Microangelo for the time being as the rest of the gang prepare for the final temple. Once again, another episode placing emphasis on the importance of responsibility. One of the ways they surprisingly get packed is by bringing some of the weaponry found from underneath the house of the planters. Plus, you can't go wrong with boom shrooms, am I right? Which is practically another tease of just how incredibly special their family lineage truly is. Plus, you know, they're gonna need it for the third temple, even though they didn't really actually use any of it. And while all of that's happening, we also have Anne, who appears to finally be changing her looks due to how used up her current gear is. When in the end, she settles with just putting on a simple chest piece in order to prepare herself. Since she clearly has progressed quite a bit over the series and doesn't want to change too much, as she's already satisfied with her growth. I'm sure everyone can attest to that because she went from being the bratty and unwise teen to the more likable, selfless character she is now. And it really makes you think, if certain events never were to occur, would Anne have passed the temple the same way she did just recently? Some other small details spliced within the episode was Marcy's potion making, and though it was interrupted by the catastrophe caused by Microangelo, we can still observe it being done. Now, according to the colors of the potions from both the pot and the glass Marcy is using, this doesn't appear to be the same formula reviving the dead. I was totally ready to commit to that theory, but for all we know, it could end up being a potion for doing the exact opposite given its pot design. However, I'm not too sure if someone like Marcy would be willing to make such a strong and perilous concoction. That is, unless Marcy is willing to go to those lengths in order to get back home, but I'm not too sure about that. Anyways, this episode ends with Bessie not only saving Microangelo from danger, but the planters as well, and so they become close best friends, with Microangelo becoming part of the family. Only thing is, I found it weird how Anne had her picture taped onto the photo, while Angelo seemingly became part of the picture itself. Perhaps it was just a part of Bessie's imagination. The next episode of our analysis is the third temple, with a shocking reveal of Sasha's sudden return, so yeah. Get ready for some action. The beginning immediately begins with a young Anne and Marcy swinging at the playground, only to eventually be bullied by two older girls. That is until Sasha Wainwright is here to save the day as she slides down and makes her way to attack. Only this much younger version of Sasha clearly is agile but lacks the precision of the Sasha of today, which may explain why later on in life she decided to take cheerleading. She didn't necessarily save them from the bullies in the same manner as I assumed she was gonna, just coming from the promo, but hey, at least she showed that she never gives up. We then flash back over to how Marcy and the gang are doing, traveling over to the final temple with Frobo included. It's not said exactly what Marcy has found out about Frobo yet, but so far he seems to be innocent. For now, I guess. I bet King Andreas knows something about him. They land where the volcanic temple is, only to soon be confronted with some basic sentencing once the riddles are translated. And Disney had the audacity to literally place the phrase, and I quote, "Lift to enter, bruh." And yes, this is not a prank. I translated it myself. It says this. Now, thankfully, they were smart enough to bring Frobo with them because they probably wouldn't have had a chance to even enter without some muscle like Sasha. Clearly, without a doubt, this temple makes the obvious assertion that someone with mighty strength is needed for these upcoming trials. And also, unlike the other temples, it's not quite about logical thinking or really much of any thinking at all, just brute force. Which explains the simplistic wording, I guess. I honestly was surprised that Marcy by then didn't at least notice how each individual temple represented the strengths and talents of each person. Specifically them, especially when amphibians would never stand a chance from within the volcano due to their cold-blooded features, so humans were evidently the answer. Before the gang truly began to cross even the first trial from within, Sasha is there to save the day, as she explains that she supposedly is aware of her past mistakes and is deeply sorry for what she caused. Of course, this doesn't officially grant Anne's trust, because at this rate I don't believe a single person in Wartwood will even trust her again after the events that transpired on a certain night. night. But the thing that brought me back a bit was how easily Marcy was gravitated to Sasha's fake deceptive approach. Because despite knowing of the fallout between Anne and Sasha, she apparently cares more about getting things back to the way they were rather than facing the problems at hand. Which probably was what would happen back on Earth, with Marcy unfortunately crawling back to Sasha and her antics while only slightly realizing the hurt she causes. I mean, just take a look at Anne's face versus Marcy during this whole exchange. You can feel the contrast between the two. Grime is even in on faking it so that he can get whatever he wants, stating that both him and Sasha lost everything after Toad Tower's collapse, which is partially the truth. Deception at its finest. They reach the second trial, and the riddle isn't even a riddle at this point. I mean, it just reads, "Sup, brosif? Do you even lift?" The darn thing was so informal that they didn't even space out the Y from the word do correctly. Who made this temple? I mean, a bunch of random jocks?
A workout.
And whoop-de-dingle-do. Sasha just lifts the weight placed on the bench and instantly unlocks the door for the next trial. But things begin to heat up as the final test consists of a giant creature that controls the gravity within the entire room, something that only Sasha and Anne are strong enough to somewhat withstand. Sasha is about to even soon give up until Anne explains that though Sasha was a bully herself, she still inspired both her and Marcy quite a lot with her persistence, which snaps Sasha out of it and gets her to, and I kid you not, take off her weighted gear and armor. And who just instantly realized the constant Dragon Ball Z vibes being brought up here? I mean, first there was Sprig's famous haircut, and now the gravity room and weighted clothing. So just like a couple previous episodes before, Sasha unleashes her fury and fights her way out. With the monster defeated, Sasha places her gem inside of the temple's charging platform for the music box, and just like Marcy's, it's fully charged. And remarkably suggests that they open it, which I found pretty dumb, because that's how you ended up in Amphibia in the first place. Plus, she probably would never have even been able to say her last goodbyes to the planters. That is, if the thing even will work. I mean, like I said, Anne's gem did not fully charge in the last episode. But lo and behold, Marcy was there to break up that idea and instead tells them to first show it to King Andreas in order to make certain that they use it properly. Now, Marcy could have been saying this not only because they truly don't have any knowledge on what to do with the box, but it could have been that it was secretly a part of the deal that Andreas discussed with Marcy earlier this season. And so, with that being done, they all are said to be headed back over to Wartwood in order to prepare themselves again, giving us the synopsis of the next episode, The Dinner, mentioning how the planters invite old foes over for dinner to try and bury the hatchet. Unlike that calamity box, right, Hop Pop? What, too soon? Anyways, this may be referring to just Sasha and Grime, as I can't imagine anyone else being potentially trusted enough to come over. And plus, Hopadiah clearly expressed his skepticism towards Sasha as well after her sudden change of heart, when in reality, it's sadly revealed that Sasha intentionally faked her way into getting back with the group, only to help Grime and his new comrades have access to going back against King Andreas. And yeah, sure, we do see Sasha have some sort of regret towards the end and realize that maybe she did the wrong thing, but there's not a doubt in my mind that Anne finding out about her second betrayal will strike nothing but pure resentment and rage towards Sasha, which then will create the legendary battle between the two, as we have witnessed Anne's instant turnaround after finding out simply about Hopadiah's lies with the calamity box. Lastly, not only will Anne not having her gem being fully completed become a major plot point in the future, I personally believe that it will in a big way save Anne, as she's possibly going to be unlocking some sort of inner strength when facing up against Sasha one last time, since Sasha's might is much more superior, but Anne could still have the upper hand. And who else is ready to see her use that glowing sword again? Because I was kind of furious with her attempting to defend herself with the same breakable tennis racket. And in any case, this pretty much wraps up the episode analysis, and I for one am just anticipating the biggest plot twist to happen. This has been the legend himself, the incredible, the spectacular, the next big thing. And I will catch you all in the next one. Peace!